Hey guys, Savannah here. Today we are going to be interviewing a nurse from World War I. What is your name?
My name is Harriet Campbell, and I was 22 when I enrolled to be a nurse in the war in early 1915. I was born in October of 1893.
Where are you from in Canada?
I'm from Toronto, Ontario. My mother and father were immigrants from Ireland, and they came to Canada in the year 1858 after the crisis of the potato famine.
What was your experience growing up in Canada?
I guess you could say I had a pretty good childhood. My mother was a maid for an upper-class family, so I spent a lot of my childhood with the children of that household. My father worked as a postman. We were considered a lower to middle-class family, but we had many friends within the Irish community of Toronto.
Do you have any siblings?
I had two older brothers, Edward and Clarence. Both served in World War I as soldiers, and Edward was promoted to the rank of commander. Clarence fought on Vimy Ridge, where he died at the age of 27.
What made you want to become a nurse in the war?
I became a nurse in the war because I wanted to impress my older brothers and make them proud. Because they both enrolled in the war as soldiers, I wanted to play my part too. My parents were against us enrolling in the war, as that means we would be with the British Army, who they didn't like very much.
Are you traumatized by the events that occurred in the trenches? I did not live in the trenches like my brothers did. They are more traumatized than me. The wounds that these men would obtain were simply horrible. I often get flashbacks to times when I would have to amputate limbs, treat gunshot wounds, and treat major burns. Approximately, how many men would you treat per day? I would treat many men per day. It was hard to keep count, as I would go from bed to bed treating wounds. Some men had been in the hospital for days or weeks, and some would be new from that day. It was hard to keep count. Do you find it unfair that women can't fight in the war? I did not find it unfair that women weren't able to fight in the war. I think that women traditionally should be nurses and men should be soldiers. I did not know how to feel about actually fighting against other people and killing them. What do you have to say to those who choose not to fight in the war? I think that if you choose not to fight in the war, it's your own choice and you can choose what you want to do with your life. My parents were against me going overseas to help serve, and I respected that. On the other hand, I think you should fight for your country to show a sense of pride in it. Do you believe that conscription is a good idea? I am on the fence about conscription. I did not like the idea of forcing people to go to war, but on the contrary, if soldiers were desperately needed, it is understandable as to why conscription was used as a strategy. How did you stay in touch with your family?
I tried to write letters every day, but some days were busier than others, so I could not spare the time. We did write letters back and forth, though it was always nice receiving letters from my family.
What were your uniforms like? What did you have to wear?
We had to wear blue dresses and white veils. We were nicknamed the Bluebirds.
From where you were stationed, did you see the combat?
I never saw the combat myself, as I was further away from the battle so I would not get injured. I did hear all the gunshots and bombs a lot. It was extremely frightening.
Did you have any close friends? Did you keep in touch after the war?
I made a lot of good friends. They were mostly nurses, and I spent a lot of time with them. We became sisters. My best friend Mary Beth sadly passed due to a bomb that hit very close to our station. I keep in touch with as many of my friends as I can, as many have passed away due to old age.
What did you think of the officers and soldiers you worked with?
They were all extremely nice to me. They appreciated the work that the nurses did, and we appreciated the work that they did as soldiers.
What did you do to pass time?
We did not have a lot of free time because there were always soldiers in need of our help, or we just had to monitor them. When we did have free time, we would just relax and take a break from all of our hard work by reading a book or writing letters to loved ones.
What was the food like? I actually have something that I wrote in my diary about the food here. I'll read it. Food was getting less and less, meat very occasional, and we lived for the most part on beans and potatoes and soup made of the same, flavored with many fryings in the frying pan. I don't remember the food tasting all that great, but we were lucky to have it. Do you remember the day the war ended? What were you doing? November 11th, 1918. It was a Monday. I remember the rush of emotions I felt. Sadness for all the fallen soldiers, but it was like a big weight was lifted off my shoulders when we were told the war was finally over. I felt so much relief. I remember I was putting away medical supplies when the other nurses and I were told the war was finally over. Were you awarded any medals? I received the Royal Red Cross Medal. Nurses who were fully trained in military service, who showed exceptional devotion and competence over a long period of time, or who has performed some very exceptional act of bravery and devotion on duty, received this award. I was one of the nurses. Is there anything you would like to add that we have not covered in this interview? No, I think that's it. I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you, Harriet, for sitting down with us and recapping all these memories. I'm sure it must be hard. Thanks again.